We are hurtling down the road to WrestleMania now. Night 1 and Night 2 are announced, the cards look almost final, and excitement is setting in. But there is one major thing that is lacking excitement, though, and it feels like that's the only place for us to start, and that is the big SmackDown reveal of who Randy Orton's been racking up his phone bill with. None other than Pat McAfee, who went straight for assaulting Cody's nether regions before assaulting our ears with a promo that, whether it was scripted or not, might be one of the worst things I've seen in recent memory. And that covers quite a lot of ground. But don't worry about it, boys, because Randy Orton and Pat McAfee are going to save the business. What did you make of SmackDown?
Like you said, one of the worst things we've seen. Pat McAfee, out of everyone that could have been involved in Randy Orton, Cody Rhodes, just to make it a little bit spicier, a little bit more interesting. Because like everyone is saying, it's not hitting it for anybody. And then Pat McAfee, the crap he said and the crap he did, it's just such a stupid segment, but awful. I didn't like one bit of it.
I mean, as Orton would have said back in 2009, stupid, right? Daniel, did this hit for you at all?
Not at all. There was just something off about it from the get-go. And I think in the time since, it's been said that, it was a call not by creative, not by Triple H. It made a lot of sense, I suppose. Like there was something about the whole segment that felt off, and sort of going back to it or considering it, knowing that it could in fact be a completely corporate decision, makes you go, that's probably what it was. Yeah, it was just unnecessary. And I like Pat McAfee. I've always quite liked Pat McAfee. It was just, I mean, we'll get into what he said, but just the overall feeling was like, why and what? And it was just like there were so many questions in regards to it. And I don't think he's added anything to the feud. I think the general consensus is that this was a really bad decision. And yeah, I tend to agree.
I'm interested to hear you say that you, generally speaking, otherwise you quite like Pat McAfee, because I was interested to get the thoughts of a Pat fan, because he's never been my cup of tea. I didn't enjoy him in commentary. I think I heard a few weeks ago that he was like stepping back and not coming back to commentary, and I was like, good. I really like the commentary teams that they have on Raw and SmackDown at the moment. And so when I saw this on, I would have watched it early Saturday morning, and just like looking at my TV, like this is just the drizzling shits. And I kind of tried to put what I felt like was maybe a bias to one side, because I don't like Pat McAfee. I was thinking, is this good for a Pat McAfee fan? But I'm hearing you say that it was.
I mean, I wouldn't say I'm a Pat McAfee fan. I don't think there are many outside of fans of his NFL career, but there's something enjoyable about him. He brings a certain energy to the table. There's a certain edge about him as well, which I like, because he can get away with saying, this and that, half the time get away with it. He can get away with being a bit of an idiot. It's a bit silly, but the yeeting on the table, as an example, not many other commentators could get away with that, I don't think, without someone probably in their ear going, and I'm not talking just Vince here, I'm talking Triple H would probably turn around and go, if it was Wade Barrett, the hell do you think you're doing?
Yeah. Right.
But with Pat McAfee, you just sort of go, well, Pat's Pat, he's going to do Pat things. That's just one example, but he brings a certain energy to it that I always liked. And I always thought that every time he sort of did get involved with wrestlers and matches and whatnot, he played his part really well. He seemed to respect the business enough to sort of always take the pin or always, look worse off.
Yeah.
And one really bit of high praise to him, the guy took a really amazing stunner. So,
Yeah.
so I wouldn't say I'm a fan, but I've always liked him. I've never disliked him, so that's a good thing.
Yeah, I can see that.
But yeah, it was still strange. Like, I didn't need it. I didn't want it. It's not something that was ever on my bingo card.
I think there's something as well about it being inserted into the main event program
Yeah.
of night one, which just makes it all the more maddening, I guess. And I don't know why this comparison has come to mind, but we're only a few weeks really away from what's in the box and all that chat. And we were all a bit like, huh? When it was Danhausen, it bombed is maybe too strong a word for what it was like on the night in the crowd, but it didn't go over the way they wanted it to. And we discussed that at length on a previous podcast. But that was at it was placed in a certain section of the show. And so it meant that we were able to have a quick discussion about it. And Danhausen has since gone on to become one of my favourite things on the show. It was certainly my favourite part of SmackDown. And hopefully we'll maybe get back to that crazy tag match that he got himself involved in a bit. But this is right at the top of WrestleMania. And you've now got Cody and Randy, their match graphic is dropping, and you've got Pat McAfee gurning over Randy's shoulder in the match graphic. And it's just, I don't think it's savable at this point. I don't think there's anything they can do as far as the McAfee stuff goes that's going to make me care any more about this than it.
I think they tried to play it as this sort of work shoot and be edgy, and none of it hit. This wasn't Scott Hall. This wasn't, I'm trying to think of another example. Scott Hall's the best one. This wasn't Punk sitting cross-legged on Raw, which this felt odd. When a work shoot works, it's because there's some truth to it.
Yes.
But there was no truth to anything that he's saying. Like, oh, we're all clamoring for the Attitude Era. No one's clamored for the Attitude Era for the last 4 or 5 years. Like, at the moment, we're all sort of going, oh, well, it feels like it's all coming together quite poorly. WrestleMania's looking quite poor. But no one's been clamoring for Steve Austin and The Rock and hardcore matches and a bygone era for the better part of the last 3-4 years, particularly since Triple H took over, because the product is probably in, its peak, and there's arguments that it could be better than it's ever been. The Bloodline story is a great example.
Exactly. The boom of 23 and 24 is like massive heights.
There's an argument to be made that it's one of the best storylines ever in WWE history. So no one's clamoring for this old style, which straight away that rings false. And then the idea that he's saving wrestling because it's become this corporate monetized sort of, and it's like, well, okay, but you're the heel. And, as I said, it felt off at the time. And it's only sort of in the days after that the reason it felt off is, if it is very much a decision by corporate or by Ari Emanuel, as it's been said, then it just sort of makes it seem completely false on top of that, because it's more falsehoods. Like, there's nothing, you're not here to save the business. You're trying to create a moment which we never asked for.
Well, it's so comparable as a moment, isn't it, to, I say comparable in terms of it being a shock twist with not much payoff, to just a year ago when it was The Rock and Travis Scott. And look how well that went, because The Rock only did that one show, and then by all accounts always said that he wasn't going to do the WrestleMania and was only coming to spike the ticket sales.
I think that's been said to have been a corporate decision as well.
Yeah.
Interestingly.
Yeah, and I think that you're right, and it does seem like Ari Emanuel's the one who's pulled this particular Pat McAfee trigger. And if indeed that is the case, then I do think there is something to be said that you can lay, like, and I'm talking maybe a 5 or 10% slice of blame at Triple H's door, because he by all accounts doesn't have a choice over using Pat McAfee in this context. but he presumably still does have the pen. He still does have the writer's room. He still does have the responsibility then to insert Pat McAfee into this in a slightly less cringe-inducing way
Yeah,
than it came across. But yeah, the Attitude Era as well, which Randy Orton famously was not in.
Yeah.
Like, it would have been different if he'd have been saying that next to a Rock or even a Jericho, to pluck another name out of thin air. But Orton was a part of what came next. He was a part of, what was it called? The Ruthless Aggression Era, you would call it?
Yeah.
And him and Cena are the kind of bookends of that era, which a lot of fans hold up as a massive dip that came after the Attitude Era ended.
But even just the general presentation of it, you know, it made you think like this is the sort of angle that people would go, oh, that's really cool. I'm really interested. This is the sort of thing that would potentially make a babyface, and that you're doing it in the bigger for the heel leading up to your biggest event of the year. It felt like a babyface sort of, but it was confused.
And it wasn't helped by the fact that this was happening in St. Louis, Missouri, which is Orton's hometown. So
yeah,
you've got the crowd booing Cody, who's trying to make his valiant comeback, and still cheering Randy, who's being this despicable chair-wielding heel. Just
it didn't
off
work.
on every level. It didn't work, I think, as you said just then, Daniel. Sanjay, have you got anything else on Pat, or you?
Literally said everything that we all think the same. I think everyone thinks the same of it. It's just no one wanted it. Let's just move on.
I liked the Cody promo. I will say that.
Yeah,
The one later
One
in the
after.
show.
Yeah,
And
it was.
what do you think about that being a perceived maybe shot back at TKO? Because by all accounts, it wasn't a planned segment. I think there was something with Tiffy
No.
and Chelsea that was dropped so that they could send Cody back out there.
It was interesting reading about it since, because it goes, oh, okay. But like, just generally at the time, I really liked it. I know I was, again, reading a few reports who weren't as fond of it. I loved it. I thought Cody come out looking great. He did that thing which we spoke about recently about that quality of getting like they did not want to cheer Cody, but he got them to cheer them. And it's just like, there's not many guys who can do that. It's really impressive. And of course they were booing him by the end, but they could, that's partly because it's St. Louis and, you know, they want Randy Orton, but great promo. And then all the little nuggets of information that it was not planned and, you know, shot back at, you know, the powers that be, you know, that's just added to it. So to speak.
And if it leads to more intensity from Cody going forward, and they actually start to get physically intense with one another leading into the match, then maybe there is a tiny silver lining. But I just think, just to draw a line under what McAfee said, like, there's something in my brain that never works when you're coming out on a show and saying to the people in attendance, this show sucks. This thing sucks. This thing that I'm representing sucks, and you all suck for liking it. It just never, ever chimes with me at all.
Well, that's the other thing about what I was saying about being false as well. Pat McAfee has always been this positive, energetic voice. So for him to come out and then be like, this show sucks, it's like, which of you is the real one? Like,
right.
Of the last year, most fans that are saying this sucks would all point towards Jey Uso, just as an example. Not me personally, but a lot of people will go, oh, well, it's just the eating. You were very much a key part in getting all of that over.
Right. Yeah, I hadn't seen it like that. You're absolutely right. He was front and center of the Yeet Parade.
So it's just like, you're coming out and complaining that it sucks, and yet a year ago, you were saying this is the best time to be a wrestling fan. But you either told us bullshit back then, or you're bullshitting us now. And in my mind, I'm thinking, I'm more inclined to think it's now because you're trying to sell tickets.
Well, indeed. And the latest thing I heard, I think just today, I heard a report saying that McAfee actually initially turned this down
Yeah.
before then agreeing to do it. Apparently, he was always TKO's pitch for the voice on the phone was McAfee, and he turned it down. Maybe they've made the right deal for him. But yeah, you're absolutely right. He was lying then or lying now, which is it? Which I think is a really strong, could even be a strong thread for a Cody promo to throw at him.
Yeah.
Be like, what are you playing at? He spoke about Iron Man matches. I thought this was particularly bizarre that he's sick of watching 45-minute Iron Man matches every week. And so I looked up just before we joined the recording a history of Iron Man matches. And on the main roster in the last 20 years, there has been one Iron Man match that went longer than 30 minutes. And do you know who was in it? Randy fucking Orton was in it.
I think one of the longest WWE matches of the last 10 years was Randy Orton. And it was the greatest match of all time at the Pandemic Mania. It was like 45 minutes.
The Mania match with Edge was dreadful. And then I think the greatest match ever was like the following pay-per-view.
That's right.
Because that was actually quite good, but it was really bloody long. But the Mania match was a stinker. And it was like 40 minutes.
45, 50 minutes, yeah. But yeah, it's interesting because it's like WWE aren't having these matches. Most of their weekly show matches are like 10 to 15 minutes. And then you get one match which might be 20 minutes. It's AEW doing all this. You need to get your shows right, mate.
Maybe he's just confused, bless him. Maybe he thought he was running an AEW promo, and it'll all be a misunderstanding.
Too many headshots on a football field.
Yeah, or smoking too much of something before he comes out, maybe. I don't know. But yeah, anyway, absolute bobbins. But from that promo, shall we go straight on to the opening of Monday Night Raw? I think that's where we'd all much rather spend a little bit of time. We got a pipe bomb-esque promo from CM Punk to open the show. He scorched the earth, including Pat McAfee. I've got it all written down here, but I might just throw to you guys to tell me what your thoughts were about it first, because I thought this was spectacular. I said to my wife, I told her about the history of the pipe bomb and what that word has come to mean, and that I think it's used a bit too liberally sometimes. If someone has a good week on the mic, people start chucking the word pipe bomb at it. And I think the word has been chucked at CM Punk several times since his return. And he's cut some great promos since his return, but this was the first night where I was like, okay, I would let that be called a pipe bomb in my eyes. I thought this was outstanding, but go for it.
I think for me, like, I can only point to two promos since the original pipe bomb where I sort of go, I would call that a pipe bomb.
Yeah.
And one of them, strangely, was AJ Lee. But yeah, like, I do kind of agree. I think they use it quite liberally for these promos that blur the lines a lot.
Yeah.
I'm still undecided whether I think it's been the best promo in this feud. I loved it, but it's also a testament to how good a couple of these Roman Reigns promos have been, particularly the first one where I hate you and everything you represent.
First one was the peak, surely, of the feud.
Dude,
until this year for me.
I think I need it to digest just that little bit more. But that promo that Reigns did was, for me, I think maybe just a touch above. I thought it was spectacular as well. It was, perfect. Like, I expected to see a promo at some point from Punk, and I think I've said this, whereby he comes out and just delivers an all-timer. And he did. He did exactly that. He proved again that he's one of the best talkers in this industry ever. I mean, there's so much to dissect from it, really. That's the interesting thing. Like, I didn't like the stuff with Reigns so much when it was more of the storyline, Reigns, Usos, I put you on the table and I didn't need my cousin's help. I didn't think that hit as well. So the first half of the promo sort of didn't sort of connect as well for me. And I do think that comes down to the fact that he is the face in the feud. I thought the Pat McAfee thing was interesting, and the later half of the promo, because it sort of really highlighted some issues that people have been moaning about, particularly like ticket prices as an example.
Well, you talked about McAfee saying he was going to save wrestling, and I'm like, no. This part of Punk's promo is him talking about saving wrestling.
Yeah.
If he can get ticket prices to drop,
I loved it. I completely agreed with it all. To use Cody's line rather than Punk, you know, the hell have you got to say about it? You're Disco Inferno, mate. Like, it's
right?
and the ticket prices are bad. It's the people in charge. It's the agents. It's the members of the board that only rock up to sell a few tickets one year and then don't bother coming, you know, leading up to the event. I just think it felt like more of an airing of dirty laundry live. So I think that's probably why I need to sort of let it digest a little bit more. But just as something that was captivating, it surely was that.
It was everything that McAfee's promo wasn't, as you kind of alluded to.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think coming off of that, like, honestly, if you're sitting there making the decision to book McAfee in this promo, in this feud between Randy and Cody, after the Punk promo, it's kind of like, how do you? Like, Cody's thrown him under the bus already. And now Punk's thrown him under the bus. You kind of need to move on from it. Like, it was a bad decision and move on.
I totally agree. And you've got all the celebrity involvement elsewhere on the card that we talked only last week about how celebrities have a place in wrestling, especially in Mania season. But that place is not and should not ever be right at the top of the card at the main event world title level. You know, there's Pat McAfee's a perfect person to come back for Mania season and do something with someone. He could have run it back with Gunther, which would have been more sensible than what he's ended up doing on SmackDown. But anyway,
It would have made more sense for Gunther.
well, we might get back to that. But Sanjay, we got maybe Pipebomb 2.0 from CM Punk. I know that you're probably much more firmly on the Roman side of the fence as far as this feud goes, but what did you make of CM Punk's latest comment?
So this feud itself, Roman and Punk, has been my favorite. I've loved every single segment. There's a few things that I didn't like when he was saying, put you in the grave with your father, and then the comeback was you're old. Those sort of stuff were that great. And we all kept on saying we want that pipe bomb from CM Punk. And then I always thought it would come closer towards WrestleMania, like the last week. But it came out now, and I was actually surprised when it came out. I was like, yes, that's exactly what we wanted. A proper CM Punk, the old school CM Punk. And then it's just like, he just topped it up with the Pac McAfee shit. He's literally just made me get like goosebumps thinking, oh man, he's actually bringing this out now. He's actually talking about it. This is great. This is what we wanted. And it's to start off the show. Like, how mad did that crowd go? Especially when he said about the ticket prices, that everyone was just cheering on, and it was just such a great opening to a great show as well.
Yeah, I thought Raw was really pretty strong.
As bad as SmackDown was.
Yeah, I would agree. I think with CM Punk, like you say, we've been waiting for this pipe bomb, or something like a pipe bomb promo to come, just to heat this feud back up again. Because as you've said, Daniel, that first Roman Reigns promo was such a high point, and they started at like molten lava boiling point, and then in the week since it's kind of dwindled a little for various factors, but for this week for me it shot right back up there. And I almost think the feud benefited from Roman not being there, because that's what allowed Punk the free reign to not get into a weird barbed back and forth with Roman, which have been very interesting and entertaining at points, but haven't allowed him to get on a roll, I guess. And I would say maybe if you're talking about the strengths that they each have, Punk is a master at just being in the ring on his own with a microphone, and in that same way that you've talked about with Cody, Daniel, he's got that ability to turn the crowd where he wants them to go, because Punk was getting some boos here, sometimes just for telling them that Roman wasn't coming, but he wasn't getting universal white hot babyface heat, but he molded it into that by the end of this promo, and called Roman safe and boring and manufactured and plastic.
Then, you know, basically a lapdog for Vince McMahon, which
a buck-toothed nepo baby who ate dog food for a weird old man.
that was a good line.
Just Wonderful. I have only one thing about this promo that I didn't love. I adored this. I thought this was absolutely wonderful. The only thing that I didn't like is that he called it a pipe bomb. About halfway through, 2/3 of the way through, he said, "Careful what you wish for when you ask me to drop a pipe bomb, because this is what I do." And I just felt a little bit like, oh, you don't need to tell us this is a pipe bomb, mate. Like, just let it be one. Just keep going and let it be what it is. Does that make sense?
Well, that could be that could be an interesting line. Again, that could be something that in the week that follows, in the next few weeks, we could come to find out that who's to say that wasn't a corporate decision? Oh, you know what would really generate buzz? Get Punk to go and do another pipe bomb. And then Triple H is sitting there going, well, we wanted him to do a big promo the week before this. I don't know. I mean, that's pure speculation. But like a little line like that could be alluding to the fact that maybe it was a call, just they want another pipe bomb, they want a big promo from you to try and sell tickets and heat this feud up. And then he's just gone, "Here, you want another pipe bomb? I'll give you another pipe bomb." And
Yeah.
then this is what I actually think about the way you're running this business.
Yeah, I think that's a very fair point, actually. I hadn't quite considered it like that, and I think you could be absolutely right. But yeah, I loved it, and another consecutive week where the start of Raw has been the high point.
Yeah. One last thing I will say is it felt like it was more of an attack, and this is why it probably felt a little bit off. It felt like it done more for a Punk and McAfee feud than it did for the Punk and Roman feud. Now I get that I get that he's referencing Vince and the dog food, and I've still got my dignity. Fine. I think that was a really, good stuff, good content. But it felt like there was more fire in the McAfee stuff and the TKO stuff. And I think that's why I felt like it was a bit of a tale of two halves.
I think that you're right, that's certainly what got the crowd to sort of come right up with him was the McAfee stuff, was the TKO stuff. And you wonder, back to your point about whether this was a careful what you wish for from corporate or from someone in the back. Was this in the same way that on the SmackDown they sent Cody out on kind of a whim of like, oh shit, they've seen the instant backlash that this McAfee stuff is getting. Quick, Cody, get out there. And I think the quote was they told him to go out there and shoot from the hip. And maybe this is a second layer of like, oh, let's try and do something else that will make you forget quite how dreadful Friday night was. So yeah, it was certainly reignited my interest in the Roman and Punk thing and the Punk direction going forward.
To tie it all back, I mean, we've just spent the better part of half an hour talking about all this. So in that regard, maybe the Pat McAfee inclusion was successful.
I doubt that.
Oh my God, we're playing right into their hands, boys. What are we doing?
We are.
Oh dear. In that note, let's move swiftly far away, and let's try not to mention Pat McAfee's name again. I thought the show ended hot as well with Ober and Brock. I loved that they had this main event. I think it was an odd decision to pull the plug on the broadcast quite as early as they did. But the fact that they put this in the main event of Raw, I was just pleased for everybody involved, because I think this is the one WrestleMania program that has built, dare I say, perfectly. It certainly doesn't have a real flaw that I can see, apart from maybe the Seth Rollins masked man dancing that they did week one. But I think this has been perfect, and yeah, they had the kind of pull apart brawl that we like to see. Sanjay, did you enjoy how Raw ended as opposed to how it started?
Did enjoy it. It's just like you said, they pulled the plug a bit too early. I had to go online and see what happened when it went off air, and they started throwing the steel steps as well. And I was like, just put that in the freaking show. Let everyone see that as well on Netflix. But it was such a great segment. Love it. I've loved every single appearance Brock Lesnar has done. So, and Ober is just getting over with the crowd every single time. It's just louder and louder. It's just, it gives you that feel that this is your main event. This is WrestleMania. This should be the main event on WrestleMania, but I heard it's going to be the first match on the show.
Yeah, I saw something now. They've announced the structure, night 1, night 2 structure. It's going to be night 2, and it's got ESPN in brackets on the list that I saw anyway, which I think means it's going to even air on the. I don't think they're calling it a pre-show, but they're advertising they're doing like the first hour for free or whatever.
Yeah.
Maybe then that's going to get more eyes on the product. But yeah, I agree with you, Sanjay. I think that this is more a main event worthy bout than Cody and Randy is at this point, and I kind of wish they'd been brave enough to pull the trigger on that.
I quite like that they're doing it on ESPN as well. As you say, maybe it does get more eyeballs on it. I don't know. I don't know how that works in regards to having the first hour of both nights on ESPN or ESPN2
Mm-hmm.
and then transferring to, is it Netflix for the pay-per-views over there, or
It's
ESPN pay-per-view,
ESPN
isn't it?
Plus or something. It's been quite controversial out there that they've made this, because they were Peacock for a couple of
Yeah.
years, weren't they?
Yeah.
And then when that changed to ESPN, it caused quite a stink.
I mean, if anything, this might be probably the first Mania where the opener actually outperforms the main event in regards to, so it is actually a genuine main event, like the opener, because that's going to have the most eyeballs on it.
I think as well we've got a history of, in recent years especially, that if you're not going to close the show, then open the show. That seems to be a commonly held kind of belief system and attitude with performers backstage, is that they want that hot crowd at the beginning of the night. I think it worked so well, just last year with the women's triple threat. I think that was helped hugely by the fact that they were kicking off that particular night. The bizarre ending of the broadcast just makes no sense at all, except that it makes everybody go online. I think all three of us have probably since seen the extended stuff that's been doing the rounds on socials, which I get. Of course, it makes sense in this modern world that they want to drive social media traffic, but it just seems nonsensical when, I know we've just been talking about ESPN, but Monday Night Raw is on Netflix everywhere. And Netflix doesn't have broadcasting time slots like the old WCW shows with Tony Schiavone going, "Oh, we've run out of time, but come back and join us next week," as it's all kicking off, which is, I think, the atmosphere they were trying to evoke. But you don't have a hard deadline here with Netflix, so it's just someone's choice to go, nah, let's cut that there, and they can go and find the rest. It's just bizarre. I hope the security guard's okay as well. He got like lamped by a monitor or something. Did you see that? Like, one of the last things that Brock threw was a monitor, and it hit him right in the head. So hope everybody's all right.
Either that or he sold it really well. It's like, I couldn't tell which.
I think you have to say that generally, though, in this Ober Brock feud. Everybody that is willing to give their bodies to these two monsters is playing their part really well, because they are ragdolling like motherfuckers for them. It's brilliant.
I will just say, I thought particularly Brock's entrance looked, he's always looked like a star, but for some reason it just looked incredible. The entrance, I don't know if they did something new with the pyro or the camera work or both. There was just something that really come across as, oh, this is big time. And that's Brock Lesnar. And the fact that I'm still going, this is big time, makes you go, wow, something's really clicking.
And he's continuing to deliver outstanding performances, and it's doing as much as Obafemi is to make Obafemi the next big thing. Just, absolutely outstanding. Speaking of entrances, they've now added a little sting to the beginning of Oba's entrance, where I think before the lights went out, you just heard a "oh," and everything went black, which just, keep giving this guy more and more glitz and presentation. It's just, push him to the moon. So that was how Raw ended. We've covered how Raw began. Do you want to get into any of the meat in the middle? Is there any particular direction that you want to?
I suppose I want to mention the Gunther stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Only briefly. I was actually, for the most part, I was like, for Seth Rollins' segment, I was like, okay, what's going on? But he knew just as much or just as little as us. But I just really liked that little Gunther segment in the back end of it with Heyman. It's like, they respect each other, but I'm doing this for a reason. At some point, you're going to find out. I was like, okay, I'm interested now. Now, that was just simple enough, but it invoked enough imagination in my mind to make me go, I kind of like this now. There's something really interesting about it. Would I have preferred it 2 weeks ago? Probably, but yeah, no, I really enjoyed that little segment.
I think it just had just the right amount of intrigue. It wasn't
Yeah,
too heavy-handed. Like, I think some of the, like this time last year, some of the favor stuff got really quite
yeah,
overbearing and heavy-handed. And I thought this was just laced with enough intrigue of, okay, I want to see where this goes. And Gunther knowing why he attacked Seth and telling people that, yeah, it's personal for me, but I'm not going to tell you why yet. I I like that. It's something. A bit weird that Rey Mysterio returned on the same show when we were like seemingly hoping
yeah,
for Gunther and Rey at some point. But maybe this is about Bron Breakker and not about Rey Mysterio. Maybe the issue was that Bron is a little less ready to go. So they've
yeah.
had Rollins and Gunther build this quick program.
I will say just quickly before moving on to Ray, though, I don't need this intrigue to be answered right away. I'm happy for it to be like a couple of months. Just because, as you mentioned, the favor example is a really good example. Like it just felt like, oh, you owe me a favor. Or what's the favor? Jesus, we get it. Just tell me in a month's time after you've beat Rollins, and then I'll be quite interested. The Ray stuff, I feel like he probably was planned to go against Ray. The impression I got was that it was probably they decided to pull the trigger on Gunther and Seth, probably not knowing just as soon as last week that Ray would be okay. Because this feels it doesn't feel big enough for Ray.
You
So
don't think that Ray was biding his time and thinking, I don't want to fight Gunther. He's going to chop me. I was like, no, I'm still injured. What's that? He's got a match. Oh yeah, I could probably do something. Stick me in a multi-man ladder match, if anything.
yeah, no, it felt more of a well, he is okay, but we had to move on regardless. So um even still, it'd be nice to see Ray in a ladder match, actually. I like that.
And this feels like an odd thing to say because it's a ladder match, which are physically really damaging. But in a 6-man ladder match, I think you can limit what Ray is doing and you can
Yeah.
protect him a lot more than you could in a one-on-one scenario with someone like Gunther, perhaps. To just draw a line under the Seth stuff, I really like that he's ditched the mask. I really worried for a couple of weeks that was just going to be his new thing, that he was going to come out every week and take off a mask like we're supposed to be shocked every week. I like that they just kind of quietly ditched that. And as far as the reasons for Gunther attacking him go, I wonder if this is leading us to Gunther and Brock. I wonder if Gunther is going to say, hopefully, like you say, Daniel, I don't need it right now. He doesn't even have to say anything for the next 3 months. He can just come out in 3 months' time and say, do you remember when I saved you from Seth Rollins and you said you owed me a big thank you, where you can thank me by giving me Brock Lesnar at SummerSlam? And I'll have his career, thank you very much. I don't know if I'm just reaching for stuff there or what. But Sanjay, we haven't had your thoughts on any of the Seth or Gunther or Ray stuff.
Yeah, so actually, I know it's going to be a great match. Seth Rollins and Gunther WrestleMania. It's going to be an awesome match. The way it came across, it was kind of like, this is our last option, so let's just put it out there, make it with Paul Heyman. The backstage segments were great. Seth Rollins, I really, really love Seth Rollins, and then seeing him back to that sort of same character he was playing before he was injured. So grateful that he's got none of these masked minions around him. That silliness has just disappeared and hopefully never comes back again. But one thing I would say, I did like that. Or one thing I would say is about Finn Balor. Coming off Seth Rollins, Finn Balor, I was saying when he comes out as the Demon King, I just think that was so unnecessary. If he's fighting Dominic Mysterio, I don't think he needed to bring that gimmick up. I'd rather have him save that gimmick in the future, if he's going to go up against people like Jacob Fatu, over Finn, because that's when you bring the demon, is like, oh shit, I need to dig deep inside and bring a demon out and to kill this person. He's fighting Dominic. He's kind of taken him under the wing. This would have been such a nice show match if it was just Finn Balor and Dominic. So when he's coming back saying, I'm going to become the demon, and it didn't really hit for me at this time. It wasn't exciting.
I don't know whether I would say it as strongly as I disagree, but I think that uh, if there's any hope for the demon as a thing, we've kind of touched on the demon stuff before. I know Finn had said previously that it was gone forever. I think he even alluded to it in this promo on Raw, where he said this was part of me that I thought was gone forever, and you're bringing it forth. I think it could work, but only if it's not seen as a different character. It needs to be, as I think you've talked about at length before, Daniel, about historically this demon stuff was always just a war paint. This was an elevation of Finn's presentation, but it wasn't, I'm a literal demon that goes and sticks my tongue out every few seconds. So I think it can work. I would almost say that Dominic is so bulletproof to losing that you could even have the demon squash Dominic at Mania, and Dom will be fine afterwards. And then you've got this demon that has a bit more credit in the bank, because I think the last few years of the demon, it kind of lost its steam and it lost its aura that it had kind of built up. But I don't know, what do you make of it all, Daniel? I know you're a big Finn Balor guy.
I really like it. I think if you want to get Finn over as a really strong babyface again, I think, you got to tap into what made him popular initially. And the demon definitely did that. I understand about the whole maybe wait until Oba or Brock or Gunther, someone bigger, but I also think that bringing him back now sets a good precedent to bring him back again for the future. And historically, Triple H used that character really well. So hopefully it stays the same. I have high hopes for it. I don't need to see it all the time, but I think, at least sort of showing us that he can go back to that sort of demon persona, for lack of a better term, is a good thing going forward.
I don't think this will happen, but is there a risk with it being full face paint that it just draws parallel to Danhausen? Which is and I don't want it to be, and that's not me saying what I think the demon is or should be, but I'm scared that there might be that they would be so tempted to like have a Demonhausen. It bloody writes itself, Demonhausen as a tag team. It's happening.
I think the only thing that gives me hope that wouldn't happen is that there's not a crazy old man in the back who makes people eat dog food.
Indeed. Just looking at what else we
Stephanie
got.
Vercare looked good, I thought.
She did, but have you seen the news?
No.
So she cut a great promo early on in the show in Spanish, talking about how, Liv, you've said that it'll be on site. Well, where I come from, you won't see it coming. I thought that was a lovely touch. And of course, that proved to be true later in the show when Liv and Roxanne were talking to one another. Liv didn't see it coming because Steph just blindsided her, shoved her into Roxanne, threw her through a TV monitor, which is exactly, I think, the physical escalation that this feud needed. However, that shove from Stephanie cracked Liv and Roxanne's heads together. They are now both in concussion protocol. And Liv has got an egg on her forehead. So it's now, are we jeopardizing the match at WrestleMania? Because they're not going to mess around with a concussion, and nor should they.
They've still got 2 weeks though, so they might be okay.
They do, but I think you're certainly not going to see any physicality from Liv or poor Roxanne, who's only just bloody come back from the last thing. Don't know if there's been any updates, but that was the last I saw. But did you have anything else to add on the Stephanie Liv stuff creatively?
No, I thought the headshot to the TV looked great. I just went, oh, but yeah, cool.
Yeah, awesome.
Really good.
Hopefully it didn't hurt Liv any more than she already was. I think as I say, it was the initial clunking of their heads that did the real damage. Another feud that's heated up just at the right sort of time.
Yeah, I think so.
The women's feud that I think is going okay, but could have been so much better on Raw was Rhea and Jade. I really like this alignment with Michin and B-Fab. I thought Michin was great on SmackDown. I thought her match
Yeah.
with Rhea was really solid. The tag match on Raw was fine, but it was what came after that I was suddenly very interested in, and then went, oh. Because I said on this pod a few weeks ago that I wanted Jade to kill Io. I wanted that to be a story wrinkle that they could add to this Rhea Jade feud to really, really bring that hatred out. And so when they grabbed Rhea in the corner and held her back, and I was sort of, as a massive Io Sky fan, rubbing my hands together, being like, this is where it happens. This is where it gets really violent and really intense. And she hit her with the kendo stick a few times, hit her finishing move, and that was your lot. And I just thought, is that it? Are we supposed to buy that as this big transgression on Jade's part, that she's done no more to Io than would have happened to her in a no DQ match? Rhea Ripley has done worse to Io Sky than than hit her 3 times with a kendo stick. It felt really, really weak.
I think it could have been a really nice moment as well, because we've had brawls, we've spoken about that. Well, we haven't had just someone just getting absolutely annihilated in that manner. It would have been great to see that. And it was like, I suppose, like some of the Punk stuff maybe, but it doesn't hit the same way.
The thing that really came to my mind was, again, it was probably this time last year, was Gunther and Jimmy Uso. That was a bloodbath. That was everything this should have been, because Gunther just killed him. And I think he'd actually cuffed Jay to the ropes in that instance, but you could have had B-Fab and Michin just grapple Rhea to the ground and watch as Io gets bloodied up. I think there are times where the men's storylines and the men's feuds are given just that little bit more attention to detail than the women's are. And I think this could have been a real defining moment that turns this feud into something really, really exciting. And it was just a missed opportunity. But Sanjay, what are you making of the women's scene? We've got both world title matches we kind of covered there, Stephanie and Liv, and Rhea and Jade.
But with the Stephanie and Liv, I really like that, especially the smack on the telly. That was loud. That literally made me say, oh shit, that must have actually hurt. That was, I don't think you're supposed to hit that hard, but that was really great. And the promos are going good as well. I'm well excited for that match. But the news that you just pulled off there, I did not know about that. So I hope that they are okay and they'll be all right.
As Daniel said, they've got a couple weeks. I think as long as they rest and recover, hopefully they'll be good to go.
So that's going great. I'm very excited for that match. With B-Fab and Michin, I wasn't a fan of them joining Jade for this whole segment anyway. I really thought it would have been a great build-up. Rhea, Jade, 2 powerhouses, giving it all their ego clashes, whatever that you want to give them, have a good segment like that. As soon as B-Fab Michin joined in, it was kind of like, it doesn't make that Rhea Ripley come out as she was before. And I did mention that since she's become with Io, that she has come a little bit less intimidating. She's less aggressive, and it would have been great if Michin and B-Fab weren't there and Jade just comes in and beats the hell out of Io, and that pisses off Rhea. And then with 2 weeks to WrestleMania, it could just be chasing. But now and even if they got to that point, then fair enough. But like you said, 2 hits with the kendo stick and that was it. I mean, I don't think they want to do much with Io because I believe she's going to be in a match with Asuka and Kairi Sane, so that's going to be a separate thing. So they probably don't want to make her injured so much that she can't make it for WrestleMania for her own match.
Yeah, it's telling, I think, that night 1 at the moment has 7 matches on the card, and I think night 2 has 6. So it seems to be fairly straightforward that Io and Asuka goes in that night 2 slot. And yeah, they had an Asuka promo there, but it's like you're running out of time to pull the trigger on that one. I don't know, they're spreading things a bit thin at the moment and not really heating up much in the way of the women's feuds. Is there anything else from Raw or SmackDown that either of you want to touch on before we have a quiz?
I would say about the Sami Zayn on SmackDown was getting booed out of the building. Felt sorry for the guy, to be honest. I mean, I do like Sami Zayn, but I really felt the same way the crowd felt. I really wanted Carmelo Hayes to take that belt to WrestleMania because he's done so great with that belt. So many open challenges, and it's just Trick Williams. They both have history. It could have made, a really great moment, but Sami Zayn in the picture as well. And I just think people are not really liking it as much, but I just felt sorry for him the way he was getting booed. Didn't really deserve that, but yeah.
I didn't read it as feeling sorry for him. I was kind of rubbing my hands together, being like, he's turning, but I think they're telling a very patient, which is not always like WWE, but they're telling a very patient story with this turn, because I think if you're feeling sorry for him, then I almost think they're telling their story really well, because Sami Zayn in his heart is still a good guy, and that's who he always will be. And this heel turn that's coming will be him betraying who he really is for the sake of getting on WrestleMania or for the sake of becoming a champion. But that babyface is still in there because Carmelo Hayes was able to convince him to put the title on the line in the main event of SmackDown. And if he'd have been a fully fledged heel, he'd have just gone, no, shove it up your ass. Like, I'm
Yeah.
champion, thanks, and I'm taking it to Mania with Trick. And he was heelish in the match in that he capitalized on that injury and hit his Haluda kick. But yeah, I don't think we've even begun to see the depth that he's about to sink to on this journey.
Yeah, I completely agree with everything you said. He still has that baby face sort of honor in him, for lack of a better term. So I like that they did that. I fully expected him to turn around and say, no, you're not having a match. But yeah, I like the fact that they gave him that honorable trait. And yeah, I don't know. I think it's just hard for me. I love Sami Zayn. I really like Sami Zayn as a babyface, an underdog that we can root for. I know that you said a couple of weeks ago, maybe it's because he's had these highs and lows too much that it's finally it's worn the audience out. I don't think it's that. I just think something's not clicked, or they've used him to a point where it's maybe you are right. It's just, yeah, it's not felt great with Zayn. And I feel like it's more of a response to the booking of Zayn rather than Zayn as a performer.
I could see that. I think there's certainly a section of the audience that feel like he's been booked way too strong, maybe at the expense of a Carmelo Hayes.
Well, I also just feel like, particularly since he lost to Drew at, was that Saturday night's main event?
Yeah, the Rumble in Saudi.
Just after, was it? Oh, it was the Rumble, wasn't it? The Fatal 4-Way was the Saturday night's main event,
right,
and then it was the Rumble. But particularly since he lost that match, the booking of Zayn has just been, I wouldn't even say it's been up, but he's just been like a whinging, for lack of a better term, a bitch. Like, you're just like, why do I want to, like, I like you, but why would I want to cheer you when you're just, and maybe that's the point. Maybe that's how you get to the hill. But it's like, I think the problem with someone like Zayn is, if you go back to January, I don't think many people would have ever wanted Zayn to be a heel. And I never wanted him to be a heel. I wanted him to be this valiant babyface. So I think a lot of the ups and downs are this whingy bitch attitude mixed with the fact that we actually still really love you and we want you to go up there. But instead you've taken this heel route, and it's like, I feel like he's been a casualty of the poor booking of this Mania season.
And I think that hand in hand with the rise of Trick Williams, who has come up
that hasn't
directly
helped.
opposite him, has not helped, as you say.
I suppose one last thing I just want to touch on, it's not Raw or SmackDown.
Okay.
The rumor right now is that the El Grande match is going to be moved to AAA Triple Mania rather than be a WrestleMania, I suppose.
And Mask for Mask, I think, is the latest that I'd heard.
Which I really like. I think it's going to be a massive match down there, so why not do it? It does mean, I think Triple Mania is in August.
Was it?
Yes, we've still got a while.
My life, boys, we've got an awful lot more to come.
Shit.
I hope that's not true. But yeah, I think it's definitely the right place for it down in AAA, because that's where it's been so over. Whereas I think there's been times on Raw, where it's been really, really quiet. Really, the match has been there without any real investment from anybody. Can we just touch on Danhausen really quickly before we do the quiz? I loved that tag match on SmackDown. I thought that was genuinely really, really funny, of Danhausen coming down, trying to make the hot tag. Miz pulling the referee in front of the curse, and then the referee can't count to 3 because he's been cursed. Everything that Danhausen should be. Like, really, really silly, absolutely bonkers. But it was in the right place where that kind of thing lives for me. I loved it.
I've always loved R-Truth because he adds that sort of comedy, and he has done for the last 15 years or so. And I feel like with the character of Danhausen, you can continue that legacy or continue that sort of element of the show. But because of the cursing and because of his character in general, you can just do slightly more unusual things. Like, the referee hand thing I thought it was such a great idea. I was like, that's really clever.
And the referee performed it
Yeah.
amazingly. I think I said a few weeks ago as well, is that what makes this comedy work is when everyone around the comedy is treating it really seriously. And like, oh my God, like, why are you cursing me? Oh my God, I didn't want to be cursed. And
the ref's probably in the back. That's not selling. This is selling.
yeah, the referee walked back, slapped the monitor, went, follow that, boys, like Shawn Michaels of old. Oh dear, Sanjay, did you enjoy the Danhausen
Yeah,
hot tag fiasco?
I do. I love the comedy that he's bringing into it, the humor element, and I love the bit where he's with Miz. I just think the chemistry is so funny, even with Kit Wilson. It's just great what he does backstage, and the referee, yeah, he definitely sold that curse.
And Miz is such a good straight man as well, isn't he? So that's the perfect role for him right now, as this like locker room leader that is just totally deluded.
There's a great video that Becky Lynch released online where she's trying to get Danhausen to curse AJ Lee.
Okay.
So if you just want like a couple of minutes of chuckling at Becky trying to sort of skirt around the idea, maybe you should curse AJ. Yeah, it's quite fun.
I thought they were great on Raw as well, but we perhaps don't have time to get too much into that one. But I think that about wraps us up for the wrestling content of this last week. And now we have to address yet another quiz controversy, because you might have noticed that if you listened or watched last week that Sanjay was cursed, in fact, we believe by Danhausen, that his stream kind of stopped working and we lost a lot of the audio that you wouldn't have been able to listen to. However, the episode did carry on last week. Not that anyone's ever going to hear this. We did have a quiz, and I did beat Sanjay, and I just find it all a little bit too convenient that, now Sanjay's got technical problems, which means we can't hear him losing at the quiz. But you're going to have to take my word for it that Sanjay was defeated, so he is now going to set a question for Daniel and I to battle it out for the quiz crown, which I'm still claiming is mine, even though nobody heard it.
And I just want to say before we start, it hasn't gone unnoticed that Ian's wearing a Southampton shirt.
I'm sorry, what?
Actually...
I've got a bright yellow one that I nearly wore, and I was like, no, it's too much. I'll just stick the black one on.
So, strangely, I've got a bit of a nerves about me this week.
I'm not surprised. This quadruple dream is crumbling.
It is what it is. It's still in the prep.
It was a great match. I don't know if you saw the match on the weekend.
Yeah,
I thought
really
Southampton were outstanding.
I mean, it was good if you were a neutral or a Southampton fan.
It certainly bloody was.
Yeah. Anyway, on to the quiz. Where's this question?
The question's all about Southampton 2, Arsenal 1. Sorry, go ahead, Sanjay. It's all yours.
All right. So as bad and horrible as Pat McAfee was, this quiz is going to be on Randy Orton. So I need a list of all the opponents of Randy Orton at WrestleMania. So every match that Randy Orton has been on WrestleMania, name me all his opponents.
Okay, so I will start us off and say Edge.
Yep,
The Undertaker.
that's right.
Bray Wyatt.
Yep,
The Rock.
right.
Triple H.
Yep,
Mick Foley.
yep.
Joe Hendry.
Joe Hendry. Yeah.
He better be on the list.
That was a tricky one, but yeah.
Seth Rollins.
Yep.
Great RKO.
Yep.
Oh,
That was great.
that was incredible. I don't think I'll ever top that
That
RKO.
top rope RKO is one of the favorites.
Now I'm getting into the territory of has this one been said? Daniel Bryan.
Yep, Daniel Bryan's right.
Batista.
Don't God.
Yeah. Nice lead
Oh,
on.
we'll have another one of those then, shall we? Rey Mysterio.
Yep.
Kurt Angle.
There it is.
Yeah.
Now we're in trouble. Logan Paul.
That's right. You guys are doing good though.
In my mind, I'm trying to think if was he against Finn and Seth? I think he was. I just can't think of who the third person is. Has someone said John Cena?
That's one of them, but no one has said it.
John Cena.
Yep.
Oh God, has anybody? We should be writing these down. That should be a tag. We should write them down so we know what's been said. Cody Rhodes.
Cody Rhodes is right.
Ted DiBiase
God.
Jr.
Yep.
Damn it, Daniel. That's 3 times.
You reminded
That
him
is
of all
three.
these matches.
That is 3 different triple threats. You've magpied. He's been in some multi-man. Was he in a?
Have to do a countdown.
He went. Oh, don't. I feel like. Why is this in my head? Montez Ford.
That's right.
Don't.
Angelo Dawkins.
Sheamus.
Sheamus is right.
Ooh. Damn. I want to say I had one before, and then I left my mind as soon as I said Angelo Dawkins.
See, Sandra, you said something about a countdown a moment ago. I'm just wondering.
Yeah, I think I might start that countdown now. We'll have to give you
Kane.
Oh, yep,
You bastard.
that's right. I'm gonna have to start doing a 5-second countdown.
So I think there's Money in the Bank match history here. So I'm just plucking Money in the Bank stuff. That's the stage I've reached. Mr. Kennedy.
That's right.
He's there. Okay.
Have we said Edge?
We did.
Yes, I said him first.
Oh yeah, of course.
We'll call that thinking aloud, will we, rather than your guess?
Just one.
Christian.
Don't have
Oh
Christian
no, that
on my
was
list.
SummerSlam. That was leading up to SummerSlam.
Christian
Not on
on
the
my
list?
Nope.
Back of the net.
As soon as I said it, I went, "Oh no," because that was later in the year. Because they had a trio of matches which culminated. So it was like Money in the Bank and
Yeah.
Battleground or
One
something.
last
and then
match when you kept saying
SummerSlam.
one last match.
Yeah,
That's it, and they flipped the
Some-
title a couple of. That was an awesome feud.
this-
That was cool.
SummerSlam match was
That was
awesome.
one.
As soon as I said that, I went, "Shit."
I'll throw out a few more names. You got Booker T, Jeff Hardy, Matt Hardy, Shawn Michaels, CM Punk, The Big Show, Dean Ambrose, Roman Reigns, Bobby Roode, Rusev, AJ Styles, Chad Gable, Otis, Kevin Owens. So these were some of the names you missed.
Annoyingly, I was thinking in my head Jeff Hardy because I think he was in the Money in the Bank match as well. But then I was like, no, I'm more confident in Christian. And then I've just got, damn.
So
Anyway,
close.
Good question.
And that was quite good. We got quite far down that list, I think. Even though you just kept piggybacking my triple threats for a while, but that's fine. So, Daniel, it'll be you to pose the question for us next week if you're happy to do so.
Although there's
Yeah.
no proof that I lost, so
Yeah, it's too late now, mate. We've done the next quiz, and I'm just going to quickly wrap up this show so we can get that in the can properly before you decide to hack our systems again. But boys, it's been an absolute pleasure as always, apart from the Pat McAfee stuff. But that brings us to the end of another episode of the Smark-Casual Wrestling Podcast. Please keep on finding our channel on YouTube and on TikTok and on Apple and Spotify. Click like and share and subscribe and all that good stuff. But until we see you next time, thank you so much, Daniel.
Thank you, guys.
And thank you, Sanjay.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Pat McAfee. And a big thank you for listening. See you soon.